The elegant ballroom of St. Catherine's Medical School buzzed with expensive perfumes and entitled conversations. I adjusted my plain blue scrubs, still bearing faint traces of betadine from the emergency cerebral aneurysm I'd repaired just hours ago. A pearl-draped woman at table 8 wrinkled her nose as I passed, probably assuming I was part of the catering staff. "The service here is absolutely atrocious," she stage whispered to her companion. "And look at that one. Couldn't even bother to change into proper serving attire." I suppressed a smile, thinking of the crisp white coat hanging in my office with Dr. Diana Chin, MD, FACS, Chief of Surgery, embroidered on it. But right now, I was content to blend into the background, watching my daughter Sophia mingle with her fellow first-year medical students. "You there?" The pearl-adorned woman snapped her fingers at me. "We need water." Immediately. "Of course," I replied quietly, taking her empty glasses. Behind her, I recognized her son, Bradley Winchester Ahier, failing to meet my eyes. He'd repeated his surgical rotation under me twice last year, more interested in his family name than learning proper suturing techniques. As I walked to the water station, I overheard snippets of conversations that made my surgeon's hands itch to grip a scalpel. My hunter was accepted at all the top schools, naturally. The Chen girl, isn't she on scholarship? How quaint. These diversity admissions really are lowering standards. I filled the glasses, remembering the night Sophia had called me, crying over her acceptance letter. "Mom, they're saying I only got in because you're chief of surgery, but they don't even know you're my mother." She'd insisted on using her father's last name Williams, determined to earn her place without my reputation. I'd respected her choice, proud of her determination to forge her own path. Finally, Bradley's mother snatched the water glasses from my tray. "Do try to be more prompt next time. Don't you know who we are?" "I have some idea," I murmured, catching Bradley's increasingly uncomfortable expression. A commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Dr. Harrison, the Dean of Medicine, was greeting a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. "Dr. Chen must be running late," the dean said. "Emergency surgery, I believe." Typical. Bradley's mother sniffed. These prestigious surgeons think they're above attending school functions. Probably some social climber woe. "Mom," Bradley interrupted, his face pale. "Maybe you shouldn't." "Shouldn't what?" "Really, Bradley, after making you repeat that rotation, the least this Dr. Chen could do is show up on time." Though what the board was thinking, a pointing etch. "Dr. Chen is here," Bradley managed weakly. "Oh, where?" I set down my water pitcher, walked to the podium, and took out my reading glasses. The dean's face lit up with relief. "Ah, Dr. Chen, I didn't recognize you in your scrubs. Successful surgery, I hope." "The patient will make a full recovery," I replied, watching realization dawn across the ballroom. Though I apologize for my attire, when it's between changing clothes and saving lives, I tend to prioritize the latter. The pearl-draped woman's face had turned an interesting shade of puce. Around her, the other parents who'd dismissed me earlier were suddenly finding the ceiling fascinating. "Mom." Sophia hurried forward, her face worried. "You could have told them." And missed this teachable moment, I smiled, hugging her. "Besides, you wanted to stand on your own merits. I respect that." Turning to the podium, I surveyed the room of future doctors, my voice carrying clearly through the now silent ballroom. "Welcome, class of 2029. I'm Dr. Diana Chen, Chief of Surgery at Manhattan General and your keynote speaker today. I came straight from Operating Room 3, where I performed an emergency cerebral aneurysm repair. I'm still in my scrubs because medicine doesn't care about designer labels or family names. It cares about competence, dedication, and humility." Bradley's mother was attempting to slide under the table. "In this room, I see future surgeons, researchers, and healers. But I also see some of you already falling into the trap of privilege and prejudice." Earlier, I overheard comments about scholarship students, diversity admissions, and social climbing. The silence grew heavier. Let me be clear. In the operating room, the only thing that matters is skill. Your patient's brain doesn't care if you went to prep school. Their heart doesn't check your family's social connections, and their life certainly doesn't depend on how well you can distinguish serving staff from surgeons. Several faces flushed with shame. "Today you'll receive your white coats. It's not a status symbol. It's a responsibility. A promise to see people as human beings, not social categories. To value competence over connections. To serve with humility, not entitlement. I gestured to Sophia and her classmates. Look around. Your classmates come from all backgrounds. Some are children of doctors, others are first-generation college graduates. Some have trust funds, others have student loans. But from this day forward, you're all members of the same noble profession. Meeting Bradley's mother's mortified gaze, I added, and yes, some of your children will fail their rotations. Not because of prejudice, but because medicine demands excellence. When I'm elbow deep in someone's brain, I don't care about hurting feelings or respecting family names. I care about saving lives. The dean stepped forward with the first white coat. Dr. Chen, would you do the honors? Of course, I smiled. Starting with table 8, I believe. The white coat ceremony proceeded with palpable tension in the air. Bradley Winchester II approached the podium like a man walking to his execution, his mother's face cycling through various shades of mortification. Mr. Winchester, I said clearly, holding up his white coat. During your rotations, you struggled with basic procedures because you believed your name would carry you through. Today, you start fresh. This coat demands more than a prestigious last name. Will you rise to that challenge? He met my eyes for the first time that day. Yes, Dr. Chen. I understand now. As I helped him into his white coat, I added quietly, your hands are steady, and your diagnostic instincts are good when you actually focus. Use those gifts instead of your family connections. The next hour was a parade of revelations. Students whose parents had dismissed me earlier now approached with a mixture of respect and embarrassment. Each coating became a moment of transformation, not just for the students, but for their families watching from the audience. When Sophia's turn came, I had to steady my hands. My brilliant daughter, who'd worked double shifts as a hospital orderly while maintaining a 4.0 GPA, who'd never once used my name to open doors. Ms. Williams, I said formally, holding her white coat. The room stirred with whispers as people finally made the connection. Your application to street catherings included 3 patents for medical devices, published research on minimally invasive surgical techniques, and recommendations from doctors who didn't know you were my daughter. You earned this coat. Wear it with pride. Tears shimmered in her eyes as I helped her into the white coat. Thanks, Mom, she whispered. After the ceremony, the reception took on a markedly different tone. Bradley's mother, Mrs. Winchester, approached our table clutching a half-empty wine glass. Dr. Chen, she began, her voice wavering. We. Would you like to sit? I offered, gesturing to an empty chair. I believe we got off to a rather interesting start with the water service. She sank into the chair, her perfect posture crumbling. I've never been so humiliated in my life. Really? I raised an eyebrow. I find that treating service workers with disrespect is far more humiliating than mistaking a doctor for one. Bradley joined us, still adjusting to the weight of his white coat. Dr. Chen, I want to apologize for not speaking up earlier. I knew exactly who you were. Yet you stayed quiet while your mother made assumptions, I noted. In medicine, Bradley, silence can be fatal, whether it's speaking up about a mistake in the OR or challenging prejudices in the profession. Is that why you didn't correct anyone? Sophia asked, sliding into the chair beside me. You were teaching a lesson. Partially, I admitted. But also because I've spent 20 years watching how people behave when they think no one important is watching. It reveals character. Mrs. Winchester flinched. When Bradley failed his rotation, I assumed, that is, I thought perhaps, that I failed him because of bias. I finished. No, I failed him because he wasn't ready, just as I'll fail any student who puts privilege above patient care. Mom runs the toughest surgical program in the country, Sophia added proudly. That's why I didn't tell anyone she's my mother. I wanted to prove I could meet her standards on my own. Around us, other parents and students gathered, drawn to our conversation. The dean joined us, looking amused at the impromptu teaching session. Dr. Chen has rejected children of board members, celebrities, and billionaires, he confirmed. She's also promoted students from every background imaginable. Her only criterion is excellence. But surely connections matter in medicine. Someone's father protested. The right introductions, the proper social circles. Tell me, I interrupted, when you're having a stroke, do you want the doctor who got their position through proper social circles, or the one who earned it through skill? The silence was telling. Today, I continued, looking at each student in turn. He received more than a white coat. You received a choice. You can be the doctor who relies on family names and social connections, or you can be the doctor who saves lives regardless of who's watching or what they're wearing. Bradley straightened in his chair. I want to retake my surgical rotation, Dr. Chen. Not because of my name, but because I want to earn it properly this time. His mother stared at him in surprise. It was possibly the first time he'd chosen the harder path over the privileged one. You'll start Monday, I nodded. 6 a.m. sharp. Wear comfortable shoes. You'll be standing for 12 hours. As the reception wound down, Sophia helped me gather my things. Mom, why did you really come in your scrubs? I know you keep spare clothes in your office. I smiled, pulling out my phone to show her the post-op brain scans from my emergency surgery. Because medicine isn't about looking important, it's about being important. That patient lived because I chose surgery over changing clothes. Every future doctor needs to understand that priority. Mrs. Winchester approached one final time, having finally found her courage. Dr. Chen, would you consider having coffee with me next week? I believe I have a lot to learn about what really matters in my son's education. Tuesday, 7 a.m., hospital cafeteria, I replied. The coffee's terrible, but the perspective is excellent. You can watch your son during morning rounds. As we left the ballroom, I caught a glimpse of our reflection in the window, mother and daughter in matching white coats, one crisp and new, one battle-worn and stained with betadine. Both equally valuable, equally earned. Ready to change medicine? I asked Sophia. She grinned, adjusting her coat. Ready to earn it, every single day. 6 months into the academic year, St. Catherine's Medical School witnessed a remarkable transformation. The parking lot, once filled with luxury cars, now held more practical vehicles as students prioritized study time over status symbols. The cafeteria became a melting pot where future doctors from all backgrounds shared notes and experiences. Bradley Winchester IUI had become unrecognizable from his former self. Gone were the designer scrubs and entitled attitude. He now arrived before dawn, often wearing yesterday's coffee stains, deep in discussion with scholarship students about patient cases. Dr. Chen, he caught me after morning rounds. Remember that homeless patient from the ER? I stayed late researching his symptoms. It's not alcohol withdrawal, it's Wernicke's encephalopathy. We need to start thiamine immediately. I nodded approvingly. Already ordered. Good diagnostic work, Winchester. You've come a long way from the student who used to check his hair and reflective surfaces during procedures. His mother, true to her word, had become a regular at the hospital cafeteria. Every Tuesday she sat with different hospital staff, nurses, orderlies, cleaning crews, learning their stories and perspectives. The pearl necklaces were gone, replaced by a stethoscope she'd bought for Bradley, which she wore like a badge of honor. Sophie continued to excel, but in her own quiet way. She'd started a peer support group for first-generation medical students, sharing study techniques and emotional support. The group quickly became the highest-performing cohort in the class. You've revolutionized this place, the dean commented during a staff meeting. Applications are up 40%, especially from non-traditional students, and our clinical outcomes have improved significantly. Success leaves clues, I replied, reviewing patient charts. When we remove artificial barriers and focus on merit, medicine thrives. The annual hospital gala reflected the change. Instead of the usual society pageant, students organized a fundraiser for medical scholarships. Mrs. Winchester, now heading the parent committee, insisted on serving drinks herself. Every tray I carry, she told me, balancing water glasses, reminds me of how wrong I was that day. My son is becoming a real doctor, not just playing one for social status. The most profound change came during emergency cases. One night, a multiple trauma situation brought all hands on deck. In the organized chaos of the ER, I watched our students work seamlessly across social boundaries that would have been insurmountable months ago. Bradley, covered in blood from a critical patient, was taking orders from a scholarship student who'd once been a combat medic. Sophia coordinated with the cleaning staff to expedite room turnover, knowing every second counted. No one cared about pedigrees or positions, only about saving lives. After the crisis, I found the students debriefing in the break room. They sat in a circle, white coats stained and wrinkled, sharing lessons learned. You know, Bradley said, running a hand through his unkempt hair, My father always said connections make a doctor. But tonight, I realized what really makes us doctors: the ability to work together, to put patients first, to forget everything except the life in our hands. Sophia added, and to remember that wisdom comes from everywhere. Like how Carlos from housekeeping noticed the pattern in trauma arrivals and helped us prepare for multiple casualties. I stood in the doorway, watching this new generation of doctors emerge. They were letting go of old prejudices, embracing the true essence of medicine. The transformation had spread beyond our walls. Other medical schools were beginning to adopt our approach, prioritizing substance over status. Mrs. Winchester joined me, carrying coffee for the exhausted students. I almost didn't recognize Bradley today, she said proudly. He looks terrible, hasn't slept in days, and has never been happier. That's because he's finally becoming what he was meant to be, not a name, but a healer. As I watched these future doctors, still in their blood-stained white coats, supporting each other regardless of background, I remembered my own journey. Every slight, every assumption, every finger snap from someone who thought I was there to serve them. It had all led to this moment. Sometimes the best lessons in medicine come not from textbooks or prestigious lectures, but from simple moments of humanity, from understanding that true healing begins when we see past the surface to the heart of what matters. The white coats in that break room weren't just garments anymore. They were symbols of a new generation of medicine, where merit outweighed money and service was a badge of honor, not shame.